This is Awakening Dreams by Raw, a podcast about ordinary people living, searching out their authentic lives true to their purposes. I'm your host, Elle Cheng, champion for authentic connection, where every person deserves to be seen and heard. In this episode, we have Gwendolyn Thong, founder of mental health community Chatty Caterpillar, who will be sharing her journey of pursuing further studies as a single mother in order to live her dreams as a social change maker. So welcome, Gwendolyn.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much for joining this interview. I think both Gwen and myself, this is our first time meeting. But I've heard about Gwendolyn actually through another friend who was in this community called the Chatty Caterpillar. And that's, it's a Facebook group. And then the course is about for mental wellness, right? So I joined it and I saw, Gwen very actively engaging with the community. And then I thought that, this lady, I would like to know you better, and also want to find out what makes you tick, that makes you, apart from so many things that you're doing, you are constantly volunteering and contributing to the society.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm just glad that I can come and share some of maybe my personal experiences and histories that maybe led me to make a decision to do these things. And yeah, I'm just happy to answer any of your questions.
Great, thanks, Gwen. So Gwen, first of all, just we want to describe yourself using a few descriptive words to our audience.
Okay, I think I'm someone who's a teacher, and it means that if I know something, I feel very driven to share that knowledge, and it's more also like I think that if I get a chance to do it, to share my knowledge with someone, it adds a lot of value to my life. So if my life is like this by myself, I'm gonna be really sad. I'm kind of like extrovert, so I like to surround myself with people I can learn from, and also people I can teach and mentor.
Okay, who actually shaped you to who you are today?
This is kind of a difficult question, right? I'm 33 this year. I'm 33, so I'm gonna turn 34 soon, and I think throughout my life, there are many people who have shaped me, and some of them they shaped me through like modeling, right? The way to live, and others they have shaped me through maybe giving me some positive or negative experiences that taught me, hey, maybe this is what I want to be, and this is what I don't want to be. But I think if you ask me offhand, one person whom I was really inspired by would be my auntie. So basically, I grew up in the 90s, and during that period, right, no, in the early 2000s, it's actually very common for parents to leave their children with a relative, right? And that was my childhood, like the first 7 years of my life. My parents were busy working, so I lived with my auntie together with, five other children. So there were six children living in a really tiny flat, and my auntie, she's not well off, so we would all sleep on the floor, on mattresses, on tilams. It was in Ang I remember. So but in order to raise us up for like all these years, she woke up really early in the morning and slept really late at night. She would have to coordinate everything that happened in the household, from waking up times, using the toilet, and then making sure everybody has their school bags packed, their breakfast settled, they all have everything that they need. And I just looked at her and I realized that you know there is really nothing that a woman can do. In a way, I feel like she's really a superwoman. And even though she only has primary school education, right, and sometimes when I remember I was actually attending some leadership conference overseas, and they asked the same question, who are you inspired by? And I think they were hoping that I would say like some wonderful person like Nelson Mandela or Hillary Clinton. And I said, no, it's my auntie. Because as a little child, I knew nothing. I was just a baby, but without her, I wouldn't be who I am today. Because that's why I realized that sometimes maybe it's not really even about how society perceives like the importance of the things that you do. Um, Sometimes it's really to try to look at yourself through the lens of the people you are looking after. So that
Mm.
has sort of guided my philosophy in life. Like, you think about teaching, right? It's not really even about, oh, am I speaking to 100 students today? Or I'm just going to spend 2 hours speaking to one student. It doesn't really make a big difference to me. To me, it's like, if even one person is impacted and that person really needs me, then I think that's a worthy investment of my time. Yeah, I think that really came through the experience of growing up with my auntie as my caregiver.
Yeah, that's a lovely story. You have this very selfless aunt who then look after five, six of y'all in a small place, and she's just very selfless and giving, right? And just and impacted you. I mean, you were just observing her. She didn't impart any like life philosophy. You're just seeing how she behaved and how she was just caring for y'all.
Yes, I mean, I think that like to be really reach the pinnacle of being a good teacher, right? It's not even about what you say anymore. It's really about what you do. And
Mm.
when you are acting in a way that actually wins respect, I think it is not difficult to, have followers. Yeah, which is
Mm.
why I think the highest expectations that the highest level that any leader or teacher can reach, right, is to live a life that is beyond reproach. That even the people at home living with you, who really know you, respect you. Yeah, I think when you reach that point, you know that okay, yeah, this is the kind of person, you can safely say that I can be this person for the rest of my life and I will have no regrets.
Mm. When do you know that you wanted to be a teacher?
I think I knew I wanted to be a teacher or an academic when I was in junior college.
Okay.
Yes, like back then, I had this teacher. Her name is Mrs. Ann Lee, and she taught me history. And I really loved her approach to teaching because, I mean, it was not just the topics or the subject content that intrigued me, but the way she transmitted the knowledge. And also she's a Christian, so somehow or rather there's this selfless spirit of like wanting to give, and it really impacted us because over the years we have this alumni group, and I saw that like many of her students now are
Mm.
history teachers, so we
Mm.
were just inspired by her whole charisma, and we felt that this was a job that we could do and impact other people as well.
Yeah. So far, I hear a theme. I think you're inspired by role models who are selfless and caring, and it's a lot of the doing, right? A lot of the being, not so much of what the person say, but how this person actually has an impact on someone that the life that they touch just by being who they are.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. It is the hardest thing, of course, is like being able to convince or persuade people who live with in the same household to have that amount of respect for you. I really believe that that one is something that you have to be fully authentic, right? Like people who
Mm.
live with you, they see your every move. So
Mm.
you can't just claim to do something, claim to be something but do something else. And when people can see that you are someone who prioritizes others, who really nurtures your family members, I think the amount of respect that they have for you, yeah, is just phenomenal.
Hmm. I think this is an interesting concept that not so far my interviews, no one mentioned this before. Can you elaborate more about this piece about for someone to look at you, whether you are a good person or your quality of life is actually based on how close you are or who you are in the family instead of how they are, with friends or with the community outside.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely grounded in Christian values as well. like I'm a Catholic, so we believe in the idea of the Holy Family, right? So you have roles to play in a family, whether you're the mother, the father, or the child. And when you leave out your vocation, it actually reflects the relationship between God and people. So I believe that like in our society these days, right? Um, you know how like our values are just so different from Christian values, or even some other ideals that people can hold themselves to, like authenticity, connections, and just this awareness of self, all these things that you're talking about. I think society gives you another set of standards that they want you to live by, like, oh, you need to be ostentatious, you need to be seen carrying Louis Vuitton or Chanel, you need to have the best education, you need to earn a lot of money, live in a condo or a landed property to have certain kind of value. But those things, I feel, let's say if you haven't earned it yourself and you inherited it, or you have earned it, but you earned it at the expense of something else, like expense of family time, expense of being a loving person towards your own children, your own spouse, then, basically, it is not a worthy exchange, you see. You're exchanging something, I believe, that is priceless for something that can be purchased. So, that's why when you see a person interact with his own family members, you see a person and how he behaves at home when there's no one to watch. And if you are fortunate and you're blessed enough to be given the privilege of really spending time with that person, when nobody's watching, and you can see how he interacts, and you can really see that, oh, this person is a good or a bad person.
Tell me about you as an example. How are you living this in your own household? Who are you
Well,
trying to be?
I have some family members who get along with me and some that don't get along with me. I think with all families, you will definitely have difficulties with some. However, I think my vocation would really be to learn, patience, to learn the value of holding my tongue and forgiveness. But at the same time, also, when I'm in a position to demonstrate these values to my children, for example, I have a son, he's 9 years old. I'll be happy to demonstrate it. Yeah. Um, like I think kids learn a lot from watching much more than from us teaching. So when there are opportunities to be angry with my someone else, or like my parents or my ex-husband, because I'm divorced, I mean, it's always easy to just blow your head out, right? Like, I'm just so angry, why is this happening? But if I learn the value of actually lowering my voice and just taking some time to process it before I give a response, I think that really helps. And yeah, for my son himself, right? The way I relate to him, I try to use principles like gratitude, like praising him, and to put myself in his shoes a lot of the time. So sometimes, I mean, I think when you're caught up with a lot of pursuits in the world, it's very easy to sometimes perceive your children as like additional burdens, or like, they're making so much noise, it's impossible for me to get work done. Yeah, but I don't do that, you see. I space out my life so that when I have time with my son, I'm really just spending the entire day doing activities together with him, making sure that I give him the food that he wants, and then really sitting down and listening to what he has to say. And I believe that that's the kind of childhood I wish I had. I wish that my parents basically did not work so hard and actually had more time to just give me their time and years, and to really truly hear what my fears are, my aspirations are, to just be present in the moment, like they're sitting next to each other, and hold space for me, like listen without judging, and listen with as much time as I need. And that's something that my auntie used to do for me, you know, the one yes, who looked after us. I mean, she had 6 children in the household and 4 adults, and we had so many problems. But whenever we had a problem that we need to talk about, she would listen to us until there was nothing left to say. So
Mm.
when someone says, I can only talk to you for 10 minutes, and someone who says that, hey, if you only talk 12, you know, or 1 a.m., I'm here to listen. So it just, you just release and then you absorb back the love, you know. But needing to give that kind of unconditional love and attention to your family members or to your boyfriend or girlfriend really means a whole lifestyle and perspective change. Like you may have to sacrifice certain things, like, oh, I don't want to get that promotion, or I can't do the sports that I like. But you know, if this is something that you need from me today, like you need my undivided attention, I will cancel my whole schedule and do it because you are valuable as a person and I care about your feelings.
I'm just curious about, you mentioned that you are a single mother, and yeah, it must be quite a journey for you. You know, when you also need to, I mean, you want to share the value of patience, forgiveness to your son. How is that journey like? I mean, how did you process these emotions?
Well, I think that it's actually a wonderful thing I want to share with you guys. It's like um patience and faith and any sort of virtue can only get stronger if it's being tested. So if you don't have to wait, then when lies the ability to be patient? It's like when you are made to wait for a very long time, then you can say, "Oh yeah, I'm patient. I can wait." So likewise, trying to be a good spouse, ex-spouse to my ex-husband, trying to be a good daughter to my necessarily, you know, fierce father is difficult, but then it also develops skills that I think helps me in my other areas of my life, because when you are confronted with difficult people and you have to daily process these issues, you actually pick up skills and coping mechanisms. And maybe that's one of the reasons that inspired me to set up Chatty Caterpillar, because I realized that if you are guided to having the right skills, um, you can actually turn a negative situation into something that enhances yourself, because it trains up the muscles of patience, it trains up the muscles of love. Whereas if you do not have the right skills, right, it can actually make you a very bitter person. Um, and of course, I want to say, if I have one tip that I will share with the audience today, right, it's really the importance of not comparing. And that's something that I've learned since I had the divorce, which is that you cannot compare your experience as a divorced parent with the experience of married parents and your relationship towards your child, because it's different. That you don't have that much control because you need to share that control with your ex-spouse. So if the kid, right, does not want to listen on something, do you insist? And then if you insist on it, it destroys the relationship. Is it worth destroying the relationship? So I realized that from a very young age, right? From a young age as a parent until now, because I became pregnant and married and everything, in my 20s, right? So that time I was still very immature, you know, and I had those kind of like fairy tale idea of what marriage should be, what pregnancy should be, what having a child should be, but it's totally not that way. And then I realized that one big part of the journey to actually succeeding is learning to surrender expectations. Like, okay, this child has been created in your body, but he is not you. He will think in his own ways. He will act in his own ways. He'll have his own preferences. He has his own needs. So for me, I just believe that if I'm stubborn, firstly, in trying to control him, and secondly, setting the same expectations as like a married parent would have, I will lose him completely. But if I can adjust my expectations and understand that, hey, I'm a divorcee now, I can provide him some things, but I can't provide him with everything. But he needs to understand from a young age that I will do my best within my abilities. And for the rest of it, we just really have to be contented and thank God. And also the last thing is that mommy is never ever going to compare you with any other child. So I really hope that you don't compare mommy with any other parent. And if we can have that respect, I wish that one day all this investment that I'm putting in terms of like sacrifices and time that I spend on him rather than doing other things, right? He will see it as a form of love. It's not easy, of course. I would say parenting always comes with the option like, why don't you blow your head off? Like, just like as a teacher, you always can choose to be a punitive person, right? And say, you don't do your homework, I'm going to punish you.
Yep.
Or you're rude to me, I'm going to punish you. But I so far have not had to do that. I realized that my way of teaching has always been maybe guided by my auntie, which is that because I model the way, so they respect me. So if I tell them to do something, they'll do it. And even if they don't want to do it, I will by no means try to exert control by using force, but maybe just continue to show how much I care for that person and use reason to turn that person around.
Wow. Okay, I hear a lot of things here. You shared about your own experience that of being a single mother, and due to circumstances, your child may want something that you can't give as a single mother compared to someone who is married, right, with a complete family. So I hear that you actually use respect, reason, and care for your son instead of the punitive method. But then the one thing that really hit me was the surrendering your expectations. And because of the respect, it's actually both ways. You're also kind of like, you first model the way that you surrender your expectation, and on the other hand, this teaches your son to also surrender his expectations.
Yes, that's right. I think ultimately one of the concepts that I can share is really external locus of control. Like we surrender because we trust in God. And since young, I've been sending him for catechism at church, so he knows the Bible very well. And every morning we get up, we listen to a sermon, and before we sleep, we listen to another sermon. We know the Bible stories, so the stories are always inspirational. It teaches us that God can use very tiny things to make very big impact. So we also learn that money, right, the love for money can really be a big evil that separate families and cause a lot of chaos. So I guess religion really does help us a lot.